Hello, FinTech aficionados. Welcome to your inbox last night, where we sift through the latest in FinTech and payments so you don't have to. I'm your host, Michelle Tivy, and today is Wednesday, February 12th, 2020, 5.OK. Let's start with the ongoing crisis at the Department of the Treasury. FinTech is wild, bro. One minute you're revolutionizing payments, the next minute Elizabeth Warren is outside your office with a subpoena and a bullhorn. In the latest chapter of the governmental soap opera, Politico confirmed that Wired was right. The Doge team did indeed have read and write access to at least one payment system, called the Secure Payment System. The Secure Payment System. Meanwhile, Forbes reports that the 11 billionth executive order was signed today, instructing federal agencies to consult with Doge on hiring approvals, hiring ratios, and hiring plans aimed at slashing the federal workforce and eliminating waste, bloat, and insularity. The order also directs an enormous diminishment of the federal workforce, ordering agencies to retain one employee for every 4 dismissed. Affidavits also show that the intent of the Doge team was to halt foreign aid payments. The federal judge presiding over the case that temporarily banned Doge's access to Treasury has now allowed Senate-confirmed members of the Treasury Department to view systems. The United States Department of Justice argued that the ban on accessing the records directly severs the clear line of supervision they argue the president has required by the Constitution. And in today's Don't You Love the Irony segment, Politico reports that the president's closest advisor, an unelected man operating in secret and accountable to no one, said federal employees are an unelected fourth branch of government that needs to be held accountable to someone. Let's check what is happening in popular industry news sources. The Louisiana Illuminator writes that a federal judge there has mandated the Trump administration to reinstate funding associated with the Bipartisan Infrastructure Law and the Inflation Reduction Act. This decision comes after a series of executive orders from President Trump that had previously halted funding for various federal grant and loan programs, including those for electric vehicle charging stations in Louisiana and the EPA's Solar for All program. Digital Transactions and Glenbrook are reporting that Klarna has partnered with JP Morgan Payments to integrate its Buy Now, Pay Later BNPL options into JP Morgan's payment processing network. This collaboration marks the first time Klarna's BNPL services will be available through JP Morgan Payments, potentially expanding Klarna's reach with Chase's enormous customer base. Meanwhile, according to a piece in Digital Transactions, FIS reported that while its subsidiary WorldPay is performing well, it hasn't been a significant growth driver. FIS's CEO noted that WorldPay's revenue increased by 4% year over year in the fourth quarter, but this growth lagged behind expectations. Ouch. FinTech Magazine reports that Plaid, a prominent FinTech company, has announced a rebranding initiative to reflect its expansion beyond traditional bank account linking services. The company now offers solutions in fraud prevention and payments, among other areas, and has grown its network to include 7,000 financial institutions. And finally, from Banking Dive, in 2023, the failure of Signature Bank was found to have resulted from a staffing shortage of bank examiners at the FDIC. Now, the Senate is asking that the Inspector General look into the Trump administration's plan to revoke the hiring of 200 additional bank examiners. Turning now to crypto and Web3. The SEC has requested a 60-day pause in its lawsuit against Binance, signaling a potential shift under acting chairman Mark Ueda toward a more crypto-friendly stance. This move accompanies the launch of a new crypto task force aimed at improving the agency's approach to regulating the crypto industry. Turning to our favorite substacks now, Marcel's FinTech Europe reports that Sebastian Siemiatkowski, Klarna's CEO, is taking big bets on fast-growing startups through manager Flat Capital. The Flat is shifting focus from later-stage growth companies and has been expanding its AI startup portfolio, partly driven by Siemiatkowski's personal interest in AI. This AI focused strategy marks a departure from the firm's previous investment approach. FinTech Takes offers an in-depth look at the evolving landscape of decentralized finance, DeFi, discussing recent developments and their implications for the broader financial ecosystem. FinTech Blueprint delves into the launch of a new Layer 1 blockchain by Ondo Finance, exploring its potential impact on the DeFi space and what it means for investors and developers alike. The Ondo chain, a blockchain designed to bridge the gap between traditional finance and decentralized assets. Ondo chain will operate a permissioned validator system, meaning that only select financial institutions will be authorized to confirm transactions. The launch is part of a broader push to bring institutional capital into the digital asset space, while addressing long-standing concerns around security, compliance, and volatility. The objective is to create a network that offers the transparency of blockchain technology while maintaining the security and compliance standards of regulated firms. In the Fifth Circuit, a jurisdiction known to have a direct line to the Supreme Court, a federal judge held that immutable smart contracts do not fall under the legal definition of property and are beyond the authority of the Office of Foreign Assets Control, OFAC. This means some developers must now carefully consider the legal consequences of their architectural choices. I hear Mr. X has whispers about the ending of an era today. Take it away, Mr. X.
Now listen here, friends. Old Mr. X has seen plenty of boom and bust cycles in his time. Texas oil, dot-com bubbles, crypto winners. But today's tale, this one's a doozy, straight out of FinTech land. Grab your sweet tea and settle in. Word is, Digital River, one of them fancy paytech outfits that's been floating checks and processing payments since the dial-up days, is fixing to shut its doors for good. That's right, after 30 years in the business, this once mighty e-commerce payments pioneer is belly up. My sources, good folks who know things, say the trouble's been brewing for a while. Seems their big ticket customers started drying up, new contracts weren't paying like they used to, and then wouldn't you know it, some good old government trade policies knocked out one of their biggest accounts. Ain't that always the way? Now, if you were an employee at Digital River, you might have noticed the water getting real shallow when the company started delaying payouts to merchants last summer. Nothing makes a payments company sweat like a bunch of merchants banging on the door hollering for their money. But instead of finding new wells to tap, it looks like Digital River's leadership was just hoping to ride out the dry spell. Bad news, friends. Hope ain't a strategy. On January 2nd, the well officially ran dry. No more credit facility, no more backup funds, and this is the kicker, no white knight investors riding in to save the day. So what's a paytech to do? Pack it up, file those warn notices, and start cleaning out desks. Now, Mr. X hears the shutdown ain't just stateside. The Germans are dealing with insolvency, and the Irish arm of the business is calling in the liquidators. Global wind down, all the way. And let's not forget the website, gone, poof, vanished like vaccine guidelines at the Trump CDC. So what's next? My bet, some vulture capitalists are already circling, picking at whatever tech stack and client lists are left. But as for Digital River itself, that old stream has run its course. Mr. X will be keeping an ear to the ground on who snaps up the remains, but in the meantime, let this be a lesson, FinTech cowboys. Never bet the ranch on credit lines and corporate goodwill. One dry season, and you might just find yourself up that famous creek without a paddle. Stay sharp, stay liquid, and as always, Mr. X is listening.
That's a wrap for today's episode of Your Inbox Last Night. If you enjoyed our deep dive into the fintech world, don't forget to subscribe, share with your colleagues, and check out the links in our show notes for more details on today's stories. I'm McKelly Tivy, reminding you to stay informed, stay efficient, and always keep an eye on the ever-evolving world of finance. See you tomorrow.